I've slept a couple nights at the gym for sure. I think we all have. That's how you earn your stripes.
Whether it's the work-life balance, giving them 2-3 days off in a row and working longer days and pitching in financially, you got to do that to keep a strong team. If it's during the day, you got a cute little kid that comes up that's training for a fight, asking for any empty bottles to clean up, and here's a free class to the gym. That's how we did it. I'm going to ride the wave of UFC being very popular right now. We'll see how long that goes before they turn it into the WWE.
Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. I am your host today, Mateo Lopez. Joining me, as always, is my partner in crime and in business. Sometimes those are the same thing, John Edward Franklin. And today we are joined by a very special guest, Brendan Kalajandik. I hope I got the pronunciation correct. Owner of Kalsmerit Martial Arts. On this episode, y'all are going to learn how Brendan went from living out of his 2,000 square foot gym with 70 members on the verge of bankruptcy to his 10,000 square foot facility with over 700 members and a wait list of people trying to get in. You're also going to learn how Brendan throws sold out events and fight nights with over 4,000 attendees. So I can't wait to get started here. Brendan, how you doing, man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. You pronounced the name perfectly and much appreciated. Ready to go, guys.
All right, sweet. So, I guess first off, how did you get into fighting, and when did you decide to make the switch from being, a professional fighter to gym owner?
Yeah, so my dad enrolled me at a young age into judo, and so I had a martial arts background growing up and always loved it. And then, through my high school years, I ended up, getting into trouble fighting and this and that. And then one of my other friends kind of veered me into a martial arts school where he's like, hey, you should try to, not get in trouble on the streets and, train at a gym and do it competitively. So I started training Muay Thai, boxing, then I transitioned into MMA and kind of went from there. So that's kind of how I got into the sport.
Sweet. And then I guess, when did you decide to make that transition? Say, you know what, I'm going to try and open my own gym.
I think so. When I was training up in Ottawa with a guy named Nick Castiglia. And just being in their gym, like I was training in some gyms around my general area, and I never saw the organization to the gym or the level that I found in Ottawa. When I went to Ottawa, they really had their systems, their school, their structure, their whole culture really, really organized. And at a level, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And, most students look up to their martial arts instructors as role models. And I looked up to Nick as one of mine. And there was just slaving away at a restaurant job, doing this and doing that, competing and fighting. And I was like, you know what, I want to do what you guys are doing. I really loved the vibe of what they had going on. And I felt that I could kind of copy what they were doing up in Ottawa and bring that to the smaller city that I was in outside of Toronto and replicate and duplicate that. And, some of the coaching systems, the structure, how the school was run. So I just went in one day and I'm like, hey, Nick, what do you think about me trying to run a gym one day? This is kind of what I'm thinking about doing. I want to do what you guys are doing. He told me to quit my job and go for it and follow my dream. And that was at like 26 years old. And I did. So I moved back home. I opened up a school outside of Toronto and it kind of went from there. But when I opened the school, I kind of opened it thinking I could do what they were doing, not knowing all the systems and how to do it. Right. So there was a lot of hard lessons learned in the early years, but that's what kind of made me make the jump to that.
I gave some stats in the intro there, but tell us a little bit about that first space. How big was it? How many members did you have in those early days? And what was it like? I know you talked about learning some of those hard lessons. What was the gym like back then?
So the gym back then, we opened up in a town called Curtis, Ontario. It was about like an hour outside of Toronto, but it was about a 2,500 square foot facility. Then again, I went in not knowing the proper business etiquette on like how to approach a landlord, how to negotiate with a landlord. So going in there at 26 years old, I got completely taken advantage of, where I paid for all the electrical, paid for all the plumbing. It was a unit that had none of the construction parts done, where I'm like, yeah, I can do it all. Not realizing later that I could have negotiated like the electrical or the plumbing or a lot of those big expenses through the landlord. I could have negotiated 3 months rent free. Didn't know any of that. So right off the hop, this landlord milked me for everything to get his unit set up the way it was. So once I did all that, not learning that those were mistakes until later, but I did all that, got opened, and we had about 70 members probably for the first year, like, 70, 75 members. So it was a grind. And it wasn't until Nick called me from Ottawa to check in to see how I was doing. And I'm like, man, I am struggling. Like, this is hard. And he offered his consulting services. And I think that was the game changer, was once I hired an actual martial art business consultant. Once I did that, and because he was in the consulting, but also was one of my coaches, I really took everything that he said with his advice and did it like I would in a fight camp. So if I was doing a fight camp, they were like run, push-ups, sit-ups. I would do it all. Yes, sir. No problem. So because he was kind of my coach in the martial arts field, when he said he would advise me on how to run the business properly, I literally did everything that he advised me to do. And then I started seeing the changes. But it was a grind, man. It was 70 members just plugging away, had to sell my house to keep it going. Then I had to sell my car. Next thing you know, I'm living in the back closet on some bunk beds, grinding it out, realizing like, what the heck is this? Like, this isn't as good as it looks.
Living the dream.
But, so that was the beginning, and that's where I started.
So 70 members, and it's not like a $200 price point, right? Like, what were those 70 members paying?
Yeah, that was like $70 a month back then. And that was, I looked at my value. I was like, yeah, $70 a month. I felt that was good. And one of the first consulting pieces that Nick gave me was raise your prices. He's like, put them up like double. So we raised them up to like $100 plus back then. Now we're pushing like 140, but like back then for me to raise the price, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm worth that. I'm going to lose a lot of people. Nobody's going to pay that. I'm not worth that. But he's like, I'm going to do what you said. So I did it. And then what I noticed was a lot of the clients that maybe weren't the clients that you're going after started kind of going away. I started getting the clients that really appreciated and saw the value in that. And I had literally zero issues. And it was one of the biggest things where I was like, okay, this worked. I'm like, wow, now I'm making rent. So that was a big change.
And also, I feel like in the community too, there's a fair amount of free memberships you guys are giving out because you got sob stories. I feel like more often than you do with some of the gyms we work with, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, my kids wants to progress in fighting, but this happened or I lost my job or whatever. I got to pull them out because X, Y, and Z. So on top of the $70 membership, I'm sure you were giving out a fair amount of free ones as well.
Yeah, you know what? That's funny that you brought that up. So, because I did do something with that. Like, I was really bad too, because I would do a lot of the front desk work when we first started. And I was really easy to get over on, the free memberships. Because I'd be like, I'd feel their stories and, I want them to keep going. And there was at one point in my life where I was given a free membership too. And, here I am opening a gym, giving back to everybody else. But it wasn't until my wife at the time was like, you're off the front desk, no more free memberships, no more deals. Everybody's sob story is this, and then they pull up in a Mercedes or they're in pro or competitive hockey. So they can afford it, and we're not that expensive. But once my wife kind of removed me from the front desk and started putting in her and another employee to run the front desk, and I didn't have to deal with it, then we started making money, right? Because I wasn't giving things away for free. However, with that being said, I still felt there was a charity spot that needed to be given to those that did actually deserve it. So I recently, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I opened up a not-for-profit charity called the Hearts for Martial Arts Foundation. And that charity, we raise money throughout Ontario. And the money we bring in there, we pick and sponsor students with that money there so that gyms aren't losing their revenue. So last year, I think we've almost hit about 100,000 raised over our 3 years. And we've sponsored gyms around Ontario, including a couple students at my own place. But now I'm able to give back to these students that do have legit stories, but we're able to compensate the gym owner. So we're not just going out of pocket helping the community all the time as much as we want to. So that charity now is something that grew from those lessons learned on giving away free memberships.
We're going to come back to that for sure. I want to ask more questions about that. I think we first need to learn how we got to the point where we could start giving back. And I also want to go back to a couple of things you said. I think there were a couple nuggets in there. So one, I think most 26-year-olds wouldn't know how best to negotiate with a landlord, unless you're John Franklin. I mean, I think John's probably pretty good at it, even at that age. But yeah, I think takeaway number one, you can negotiate with your landlord and your lease, and you can get it white boxed and work that into to your rental agreement. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, yeah, you got to charge what you're worth. And I also wanted to follow up and ask, with the bunk beds, were you living there with your girlfriend at the time, your now wife?
At the time, that was my girlfriend. So not fiance at that time, but she was still at her house, but she would spend nights with me there to grind out. But it was just kind of like, yeah, you want to stay over here? Like, I don't want to go stay where your parents are, but you're going to stay in my gym. Is it better? I don't know. But she ended up spending some nights there with me, and it was just, at one of those times where you realize you're like, man, like I'm not a catch if I have this girl living in the back. I got to get my shit together.
The two options were her parents' house and your bunk beds in the back of the gym.
Yeah, at least nobody was there when the gym was closed. But yeah, it was a grind.
Yeah, I've slept a couple nights at the gym for sure. I think we all have. So yeah, that's how you earn your stripes, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Never lived there, but
it was all in.
I never lived there. I never lived there, but I did spend a couple nights for sure. Sweet. So I guess what are the stats now? I know it's been like a 10, 12 year journey for you.
Yeah. So about 13, 14 years now running the business. So I ended up moving from that unit once I was given the consulting advice to find a cheaper unit, find a better landlord. So I did that. We relocated to Bowmanville, way cheaper rent. I grew that school up to about 400 members. And then I'm like, I'm going to open up another school. I decided to open up another school in Port Perry. I opened that school up, ran it up to about 350 members, ran that for about 5-6 years, sold it, took the money from that, went back to my headquarters gym that I started. I expanded that by adding in like a wellness center and an extra space to have more mat room. So now I'm operating one large facility that's 10,000 square feet, and we're pushing just over 700 members on average through that school. Sorry,
because we tend to interview more like coaching gyms. So this is our first foray into martial arts. So if you tell someone you got 700 people training out of your gym, like do heads explode? Is that like top of the top of the top of the top? Or
I think for my area, it's very, very good. But I think how I have my gym set up, there's a reason to it. So we have a lot of schools that are maybe just a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school, or just a boxing school, or just a Muay Thai school. So now at my facility, kind of how we look at our screen, we got one screen here, one screen there. I have 3 mat rooms like that. So I've created one mat space that's like, say, 2,000 square feet for just Muay Thai, one mat space for 2,000 square feet that's for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm technically, in my head, running 3 different martial arts schools out of one facility, if that makes sense. But like my coaches can teach multiple arts, as can I. So we're able to run it like that. So the way I look at it is people will come into my facility for 5 o'clock. Some will be training jiu-jitsu, some will be training Muay Thai, some will be training wrestling or whatever. So we're kind of pumping 3 schools out of one, giving all the arts available to our community.
And so then I guess I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but how do you package and price, and how has that evolved over the 10 years, especially when you're trying to, like you said, sell, it's 3 schools in one in a certain sense. So how do you package and price it?
We'll have a pricing point for our Muay Thai program. So you want to come and sign up for Muay Thai, here's the price for Muay Thai. There'll be a base price. Let's say the base price is $100 to join the Muay Thai program. You want to also do the jiu-jitsu, that'll be an extra $25 a month. You want to do the strength and conditioning on top, that'll be an extra $25 a month. So every one base art has a base price, and then you can add on at a very cheaper rate the other programs. So you can have an all-access membership. So we have an all-access membership, or we'll have an individual membership for specific arts. Because we got some people, I just want to do jiu-jitsu. There's your base price. We have some people that want to do jiu-jitsu, MMA, Muay Thai, wrestling. Then there's add-ons for all those extra programs.
And I guess how big is the staff team to facilitate I guess how many sessions are you running for each one? And then how big is the staff?
Yeah, so I think I got about 20 staff, okay? So I got about 20 staff, and then a majority of them that are more of like the full-time coaches are the ones operating the headquarter office, signing people in, making sure the memberships are on point, making sure the waivers are on point, making sure people know where they're going. And then I got my coaches that'll come in. Generally, all our classes are starting at 4 o'clock. So when people come in, they're going to hit their rooms up. I'm trying to operate usually every night 2 coaches per class on each mat. So about 6 coaches an hour, and 1 front desk staff. So about seven staff per hour. I'm usually running between 4 o'clock and 9 o'clock.
Is it actual classes, or is the mat time just open and then the coaches are just there helping
No,
people
these are
out?
all structured run classes.
Okay.
We do have open mat time available during the day. We don't have any open mat time available at night because it's literally structured 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 classes. But we do have some open mat time during the daytime. But for the most part, it's a coach coming in with a class plan and a lesson plan, and we're delivering that for the hour.
Wow. That's, yeah, that sounds like so then at any given point, it's like 3 classes going on at once at these different rooms.
That's it.
And there's 6 coaches in total. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, just look at the schedule page.
Yeah,
every room
Those are my
has
3
its own
rooms
schedule.
that I got pumping. So that's our new room that we added, the blue room, and then our main gym operating. So you can kind of take a look to see where kids are going to go. And yeah, it's a full packed house, 3 rooms running.
Yeah, this thing must be chaos. So, of like
Organized chaos. It's organized chaos that is working. And there's some classes that we found very beneficial to the family. So this is a good note for some of your listeners. So you'll look like Thursday night, for example, I've got ladies kickboxing at 6:30. At the same time, I've got an adult no-gi. At the same time, I've got a teens jiu-jitsu. So we have families that have teenagers where the mom will go kickbox, the dad will go do no-gi jiu-jitsu, and their teenagers off in the teenager class. So we try to have some classes that kind of hit that, and the parents just love it. Or siblings, for example, Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, you've got a family with kids that has a 3 and 4-year-old, or they have a 5 and 8-year-old. In our main gym, there'll be the 5 and 8-year-old doing Muay Thai, while the 3 and 4-year-olds are up in the other room doing a 3 and 4-year-old class. So we've tried to coordinate some of our classes so families can kind of take advantage of the gym. Like Monday night Muay Thai, I don't know if you guys got kids or not, but you probably don't want to go in and train with your 13, 14-year-old. So you go into the adult Muay Thai at 7:30, while the teenagers are training in another room doing their Muay Thai class at 7:30. So I found that that's been very good, hitting the convenience point for the families. Everything's convenience and timing. And if you can make that work, I think you're going to get a lot more family memberships is what we've kind of gone after. We're a family-based gym.
That little ninja time slot's perfect. I got a little one about that age, and to get him out of the house Saturday morning, we would be all over that.
I have an 18-month-old too, and I'm like, all right, he's done breakfast at 8:30. What are we doing? Right. So, and with the little ninjas classes, those are 30-minute classes. We've been kind of debating on like how long can 3 and 4-year-olds pay attention for. So we found that 30 minutes was okay. Anything after that, you start kind of losing them.
It seems like you guys are similar to like sports performance, where it's just this dance because you have to schedule so many different populations and think of, when do my 5 to 8-year-olds, my 9 to 12-year-olds, my women, my adult, my teenagers, it seems like a very complicated trying to figure out the puzzle pieces of where everything goes. But
it is, especially right now, because I'm getting ready for September. So I'm like, what classes are really working? What needs adjustment? Right, so in these next 2 weeks is when I'm getting ready for the September back to school schedule, right?
So you said like base price is around $100.
That was back then. I think our base price now, we're about $70, $75 bi-weekly. So you're looking at $140 a month.
I was going to ask, so like what's like it's tough to do all the math. Like what's the average person in your gym pay around?
Average person's probably paying $140 a month.
Okay, so that's what it blends out to.
That's Canadian dollars. You guys are in Florida, so that's probably about 120.
50.
Yeah, right. I know.
Right now, the exchange rate's pretty good.
So how did we get here, right? What were like let's start with like 3 to 5 things that you changed in the business to take you from that, bunk bed situation to now we've got this jam-packed schedule. The whole family's coming, 700 members. You got a wait list. What were some of the things you changed?
I think some of the things I changed is I went through my gym and cleaned it right up. That was one of the things, like brighter, more fun colors. I've leaned towards getting rid of the reds, going more after blue. But uniforms were one that we kind of did. Uniforms, pricing, schedule. We created grading systems. Some of the main things for like a business owner. Is it more business owners we're talking to today, or is it like business owners? Yeah. So for me, it was negotiating the lease, raising the prices, putting systems together, hiring quality coaches to assist to take a lot of that workload off me, and putting a strong front desk person on the front desk. I think having a strong person on the front desk, getting the right unit for rent, getting your prices appropriate and having a good team to support you so you don't burn out and you can work more on your business were some of the things for me, because I was in the gym every day on the mats. Once I started bringing in more help and support, I was able to kind of manage the chaos and send us in a proper direction.
What about like marketing? Like, it seems difficult to market because for the same reason scheduling is difficult. You got to market to 2 to 3 year olds and the parents of those people, and then athletes, and then adults and women, and there's a lot of avatars and moving pieces here. But I'm looking at
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another thing that was added. But we go back to 2011. It's hard to remember all the things that I did back then, but we started off like fundraising for our little competitive team by knocking on doors, handing out free classes. If it was trick-or-treating at Halloween, I would staple free classes to candy and give them to all my members to be like, here, take this candy, hand it out to the community. We did a lot of community events by getting into like our Rib Fest or our parades to get us out there, as well as hitting, heavily on the social media platforms marketing. We did do a lot of that. But a lot of community events, a lot of team building events at the gym were big pieces to us kind of getting us out there. I was heavily focused in a competitive team, so that kind of got the ball rolling a little bit to kind of get us out there. But man, we were foot soldiers, knocking on doors at community events and doing everything we had to do to get us out there. Going into the schools, anything we could do, we would do just to get our name out there.
Is the sales process just like, hey, come in for a free trial, or is it something different than that?
So right now, like our gym's hit a different level. I don't know if our community here is just growing different, but I've actually decided we don't need to spend too much money on marketing. Like, we're trying to clean up right now our social media and our Instagram to make it a little bit more professional and family inviting, because we've been heavy. When I was running it, it was always my passion. I'm like, oh, my fighters are winning fights. My fighters are doing this. But then I'm getting the outside view of like, hey, like this needs to be more like female friendly, family friendly. So we're in the gist of cleaning up our social media. But as for marketing and people calling in, they get a free class. That's about it. We'll give them a tour, one free class. But I'm actually kind of navigating potentially not even doing a free class, making people pay to do a class, like, and they'll get a coach to help them with an intro. But we're so busy, I don't need to give anything away for free. I might just be like, hey, you're coming in for a class, $20. A coach is going to show you around, hold some mitts for you. If you like it, here's the option. So we're getting a little bit more value for our time.
What are they coming in and asking? Like, what are like for us, in the fitness world, it's, people are coming with weight loss concerns, or, they just had a kid and they want to make sure they're healthy for their kid, or, you get those kinds of things. For you guys, is it, what's the driving factor? Like, what are the problems you're solving for people? I know it's going to be a mix because of the kids, but.
Yeah. So for the kids, the most part, we have parents that want discipline. We're getting a lot of kids, a large percentage where, hey, my kid's got ADD, ADHD, they're acting up at school. They need an outlet. They need discipline. So that's the majority of what the parents are bringing their kids there for. You do get a small pocket. Hey, I want my kids competing. I want them doing this. As for parents coming in, they see their kids training and they're looking to maybe kind of go back to their glory days. We got a lot of people like, I used to kickbox when I was 16, or I used to do judo. Now I want to try this. A lot of the dads I'm finding that everybody's listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. They're like, oh, jujitsu. I got to try this. And we're getting a lot of people like that, but it's to come in, lose weight. But for the kids, it's all parents wanting their kids to be disciplined and have an outlet and learn how to defend themselves in today's crazy world.
And how does your marketing reflect that? Because I imagine it'd be hard to put up an ad like, hey, is your kid driving you crazy? Come bring him in so they can burn off some steam at our jiu-jitsu class. So how do you get that message across?
Yeah. So storytelling now. So what we're supposed to do, we hired a new social media girl where she wants to tell the story of what we do. So if it's like, us talking about discipline to the kid, or having another kid tie a kid's belt, about teamwork and helping bring somebody else up. So our social media now is going to be more storytelling to get that point across of what we offer. So if it's discipline and respect, it'll be little videos of kids doing something that shows respect and discipline within our gym. How we get that story across, like we do a dojo con every day where our kids have to preach, seek perfection of character, be faithful, respect others, refrain from violent behavior, and then they bow. So maybe it'd be a 15-second clip of that, and the parents like, oh, I want my kids doing that. You know what I mean? So I think storytelling through social media of what you guys do.
Obviously that kind of leads into like the community aspect, right? So especially some of the CrossFit gyms, there is a fair amount of like, especially in those first 6 to 12 weeks, fair amount of indoctrination that happens where you're trying to teach your new members about the gym, about the etiquette, but also like what we're trying to do here and trying to, keep them coming back, right? So how do you work that into your service where obviously there's going to be a lot of rules, as you just said, and some values there. So how are you guys expressing that? Is that in the sessions themselves? Do you guys have some kind of automated sequence that goes out to new clients that you're teaching them about the ways of your gym? How are you guys doing it?
Yeah, so I think that's something that we are struggling with that we need work on. And that's part of my goals heading into September is a bigger focus on retention, whether it's like, getting our automated systems up. We're still navigating through those are some of the things at the 10-year mark we're still trying to navigate and get better at. We're fortunate enough. We got a nice bedroom community of all these families that are going to put their kids in anyway. But us taking, let's say the average student stays for 13 or 16 months, we're looking to lengthen that by doing more. Like we did a really fun one just to keep the families engaged. Like we'll do kids night outs, parents night out, whether it's like, hey, we train all the time. It's a healthy lifestyle. But one of the big things that we did a couple months ago or back in the winter time, which was really good, is we did a wine and paint night for all the ladies kickboxers. So they were able to come in, dress up, have a glass of wine, do some painting, but it kind of brought the tribe together and built the culture. We like to do like community events or like what do you call it? A little thank you day, student appreciation day, nice big barbecue for them. So I think you got to do community events and you got to make it fun. You got to give them things to do. We're fortunate enough with our industry, we're able to throw a lot of events, shows, tournaments. So they really enjoy that because if we're throwing 3 or 4 a year, it gives them a night to come out, see their friends, watch the other athletes, even if they don't compete. We have members that might not want to compete or watch, but they want to volunteer and help out. So doing different things for the tribe that brings everybody together. But these are still things that we're struggling on and trying to add and get better at.
I'm going to come back to the events thing. That's a big part, I feel like, of your business. But I wanted to go back to something you said before. I heard you mention on another podcast. I just want to revisit it. The importance of door knocking in those early days. I know we kind of brushed over that, and the other thing I had never heard of was the trick or treating bit. So, how did you come up with that? And were there other things as well? Like, we've had some people come up on the podcast and say like, it's important to go door to door. You gotta hit the pavement, right? But like, what does that actually look like? Like, how do you actually just like walk up to someone's door and like,
so what we were doing at that time was we were doing a bottle drive to raise funds for our junior fight team. So we had a bunch of kickboxers that were getting ready to go to Orlando, Florida, actually, for the IKF World Classic tournament that they had down there. So I had all my kids dressed up in their Muay Thai uniforms, going door to door, raising money, just like a lot of sports teams do. But at the same time, we would be handing out free classes. So we were going there with 2 reasons. A, to promote our business, show my cute little kids that are getting ready to fight, but also handing out a free class. Because I do find it now, like even last night, 9:00 at night, somebody was ringing my door selling a phone service. I'm like, get out of here. Don't waste my time. But if it's during the day, you got a cute little kid that comes up that's training for a fight, asking for any empty bottles to clean up, and here's a free class to the gym. That's how we did it. And then that was part of the consulting advice I got with the trick-or-treating candy. Because I'm like, if I have 70 kids and these 70 kids go to all their houses around my community that's walking distance, and another 100 kids go to their door and they're all going to get a candy that has a free class on it, and the parents are like, ooh, what's this? That was a hit. We ended up getting a lot of people coming in from like that. I think you just got to be creative and find those ways to do it. But birthday parties were another way too. So we would do kids' birthday parties at our gym. So the kids could come in and do a birthday party, free class for all the other kids that came. That's a good way to bring them into.
Kids programs is something that I know a lot of gyms struggle with. What's the key to running a successful kids program?
The coach, I believe. It's taken me a long time to kind of get away from it. Part of what my consultant wanted me to do was it doesn't matter who the coach is, the people should just go for the class. It doesn't matter who's teaching. It's a structured class. This is how it's taught. I am going my own different way, and it has become a personality driven. If the coach is good and he can engage with people and he's got a good personality and he's upbeat and exciting, I think that draws it in. And I hate to say that, but this is just the reality of something that I'm dealing with in my school. people want certain people because of their energy or their enthusiasm on the mats. And as bad as that might be for other businesses, be like, oh yeah, just plug in everybody. The class is going to be like this. I'm finding that it really comes down to the coach.
How split is it between kids and adults in your gym? Because both all your pictures are packed out. It looks like all the classes.
I'd probably say we're probably about 70% kids. Yeah, 60-40 I'd probably say, but our kids' classes are just rammed. That's our community too. Everybody that might be listening could be in a heavy, like a populated city or like a capital city. Like we're outside of Toronto, so it's very bedroom community. Right? Families, small families, and it's growing. So we're able to hit that family market huge. Whereas if you're downtown Toronto or downtown Orlando or Tampa or whatever, might be a little different culture of people that you're going to get in your gym.
Hey, gym owners, are you looking for a way to generate more leads, close more sales, and increase client retention? Introducing Kilo. We are a software company that gives gym owners the tools they need to increase revenue and run a successful gym. With Kilo, you get a beautifully designed website to capture more leads, an integrated marketing automation platform to increase sales, and our gym management software so you can add new client memberships, process payments, and organize your class schedule. If you're ready to upgrade your gym management software, book a call at usekilo.com. So you mentioned the importance of the coach. I know you said you had like 20 staff members. With all that staff, how do you do quality control and all the sessions too? Like how do you do quality control and continuing education for your staff? And if some of them are fighters, I don't know if they are, but how do you balance their work versus their fighting careers? I know you had to make that choice yourself back in the day too.
Yeah. So I'd say it starts with just, I like to hire from within a lot. So they've kind of come through learning from me or our team. They get our vibes. I'm also able to get a pre-look at their personality and their coaching and people skills. So I do a lot of hiring from within, and then it's staff training, going over our coaching courses, going over set plans. But a lot of the time, me as the owner being present, giving them ongoing coaching, sitting down with them, telling them how they could be better. And they appreciate the feedback. Like, that's one thing I'm trying to do more. They want to know how they're doing. They want to know what they can do better. I think it's just, and it's dealing with things right away. Like if you see something that bugs you, you can't let it go. Whether it's a coach like playing on their phone, you got to deal with things right away. Like even today, I had one of my old coaches that's been in there, awesome coach, but like he's just kind of hanging out on the ring, no music on. The ladies are walking in, and the vibe felt awkward. I'm like, get the music on. Music's got to be pumping. They got to come walk in where they feel excited to be here, not awkward. So it's ongoing coaching from the owner and being honest and dealing with things right away, as well as proper staff training.
And how do you retain staff?
So that's a great question. And I'm actually pondering some more ideas in my head, but I think you have to, in today's day and age, you've got to pay them well. If they are quality, you got to pay them well. At the end of the day, I think everything comes down to people being able to be comfortable in their own life. And if they're struggling or they're not making enough money, they're not going to put that energy back on the mats. So I've really taken a step back and been like, okay, listen, I'm going to pay these guys a little more than average amongst my community to keep them happy and to keep them wanting to come to do more. I believe it comes down to paying them properly.
I heard on another podcast that you also were playing around with their schedules a bit. I don't know if you were still doing that, but if you want to talk, yeah, I think you said on Nick's podcast you were like doing 410s or something like that.
I was thinking about, so a lot of what I'm getting into now, and I'm feeling it as well. And I think John just mentioned too, he's got a new son or a new child. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl or not, but you want to spend a lot of time with your kid. Like you don't want to be at work 5-6 days a week. And you hear about it in the media and then the new culture that we're kind of coming into, but people want that home and work-life balance. And, if I'm able to give some of my quality people 3 days off or a little bit more time with their family like I want, I think it's just people are going to be happier, right? Because the times are stressing right now. Like I made changes on the go where just this week, I eliminated my personal trainers having to pay a fee to the gym just to put a little extra money in their pocket while we're feeling gas and food go up. So they're going to appreciate that from me. But I feel you have to take care of your tribe if you want them to stay there and continue, right? And give them little things to grow, whether it's performance bonuses, where it's like if you have a good good nights or months, spread that out, pay them more. If times are hard right now, pitch in a little bit more if you can. And I looked at it basically from watching the gyms in Ottawa that I was talking about. The gym owner up there ended up going from 1 school to 8 schools. And, money, which is good. We're all in the business to make money. But he wasn't taking care of his killers. And when they were struggling, they ended up leaving and opening their own schools. So I watched that because I came up through them from 1 school to the multiple schools. And then I watched all their top guys leave and open their own schools. And I'm like, I do not want that to be me. So I've changed how I treat my people. And, whether it's the work-life balance, giving them 2-3 days off in a row and working longer days and pitching in financially, you got to do that to keep a strong team.
Wow. Beautiful.
Thanks.
I love it. So speaking of, at one point you did have 2 locations. Why did you decide to go back to 1? And what would you say to people who are kind of debating whether to expand to multiple 5, 10 locations versus the 1 mega school that you've got?
If you've got quality people and you can manage multiple locations, go ahead and do it. I was making money off the location. For me, it just came down to I was grinding. And from 2011, when I was living in the gym to grinding, I've been nothing but like work and building the gym and building it up, building up the second school. And then I'm like, when I knew my wife we were having our first baby after being married for 10 years, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to slow down a little bit. I watched my dad still working at 70 years old. I'm like, I don't want to be one of those dads that my kid doesn't see. And with the 2 schools, I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell that location off, use that money. I bought a little cottage so I can now have family time at the cottage with my son. And I built up my Bowmanville location where we live bigger and expanded it, and also took my top coaches from that gym and implemented them into my main headquarters. If you have the time and energy to do it and a team that you can do it with, do it, but you will stretch yourself thin because I'm now finding I was operating both locations for 7 years. Everything was running smooth. But now that I'm just in Bowmanville, I'm like, there's still so many things I got to be on and clean up to take it to the next level. So you as an owner, if you don't have a partner that you can trust or work with that can run it and a quality team, it's going to be challenging, but it can be profitable if you do it right.
Yeah, we tried it and it was hard and we were stretched thin. Yeah. And but we know people who are crushing it. Yep. So it is possible. There's no right or wrong. This is just one person's opinion. It's just our people's opinion here, listener. But a mega school sounds really, really cool.
And being home for your kids sounds pretty cool too.
That also sounds really cool. Yeah. Super cool. Big part of growing the community is running these fight nights, right? So how did it start? How did you get your first fight night going? And how did it expand to, basically its own separate business now where you're selling out hockey stadiums to run these events?
So I think it started with, I wanted to develop a fight team. I wanted to develop my fighters, where to get them action. So we started with doing inter-house competitions. And once we started doing having my students match up against each other and selling some tickets at the front door, I'm like, oh, we're making an extra $1,000 a month doing these shows. Then I would throw another one. Then I would throw another one. Then I would raise the level up, start inviting out some other gyms, making them a little bit more competitive, adding in an MC, adding in a DJ, charging a little bit more. Then I'm like, oh, that's an extra $2,000 a month for the gym. And then I was seeing my fighters get better and build. And then I'm like, all right, now let's go rent a hall because we're filling out our gym. Let's go rent out a hall. Then we go rent out a hall and I'd throw a show with 300 people. I'm like, oh, wow, that's a nice extra chunk of cash in my pocket. My community gets involved. My members are happy. They're volunteering. They're getting to see their kids and their teammates fight. They get to cheer them on, have some beers. The fighters get to fight in front of their home crowd. And at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I made an extra $10K that month. Then the money keeps growing and the community keeps growing and people get excited. When's the next one? When's the next one? So we went from inter-house shows, in-house tournaments to small community shows to then after doing that for about 10 years, we were packing halls for an average about 1,000 spectators a show. We ended up dabbling into the pro MMA field where we rented out our large Oshawa Generals hockey arena. That's like a 4,000 seat arena. And we ended up selling that out by just putting all of our top fighters from the gyms in that area on the card, promoting the heck out of it, not offering a live stream so people could stay at home instead of going. I think that was one of the big things that I did where we ended up having people come was because we didn't offer live streaming, where I'm seeing a lot of these other shows offer live streaming. I'll be like, oh, sweet, I'm going to stay at home, watch this with my friends. But we didn't offer that, and we ended up getting 4,000 in attendance for our Durham Fight Series. The company that I run now is called Durham Fight Series. We throw Muay Thai shows and MMA and boxing shows.
So we have a lot of gyms that we work with. Some of them are weightlifting gyms. So there's obviously an opportunity there to do a weightlifting meet. We have people in the CrossFit space. CrossFit competition is a big part of the community there. And then even some other gyms with these newer concepts. We've talked to someone here in New York, West Village Athletics, Dane. He has competitions for his gym because everyone has different, cohorts that they work out with and train with. And so he pits the cohorts against each other. High Rocks is obviously getting a lot of traction. So there's opportunity for some of these gyms to take advantage of this. So what is the key to throwing a great in-house event? What are some of the takeaways?
I'd say proper planning, picking a correct date. I've seen a lot of gyms before. They've invite me out to one of their shows, and I'm like, "That's Mother's Day, or that's the long weekend."
Right.
No. So picking the right date, picking the right venue if you're going to do it at your club, and then planning it out properly and doing it well in advance. You can't throw something 4 weeks ahead of time. You got to have proper planning. Like right now, I'm planning my February 8th show. Proper marketing and putting a good team together that's going to really help you organize it. And then having a checklist. So a lot of the events that we do, we have a checklist. So I literally follow my checklist, delegate all my roles. And then me as the owner, I'll overlook everybody's roles to make sure everything's coming together. And you should be able to throw a proper show. I think I'm lucky just because right now, you guys are in Florida, so you know more than anybody, but the UFC is very, very popular right now. So when I throw a fight night, people can really relate to, oh, people are punching each other in the face. That sounds exciting. I'm going to that. Yeah, that's our show that we threw in Oshawa there.
Look at this shit.
Pro MMA show.
Looks
so I think I'm lucky there, whereas I don't understand the CrossFit world so much, but I think I'm going to ride the wave of UFC being very popular right now. We'll see how long that goes before they turn it into the WWE. But we'll go from there. But yeah, this was our Oshawa show. Absolutely packed arena, and it was an absolutely great night. Great night.
You mentioned picking the wrong date. What are some other pitfalls, right? I'm sure you've gone to other events that weren't so great. So what are some of the other common mistakes?
Common mistakes, I would say, is you make your show too long. People have a short attention span. If you go to a hockey game or a football game, you want to be there 2.5 hours, watch the game. I've been to other people's fight nights where you see my stacked fight card here, all these fights. They'll be there for 6-8 hours. And I'm like, that is too long. So how I try to do it and organize it, it's bang, 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 bang. I'm looking at it from the spectator in the crowd. I don't want an intermission. I don't want all this mumble jumble. I want to see fights back to back. If it's boring, I'll get up and get my beer, get it delivered. But I think making it a window of time that's appropriate for people's lives. We all have things to do. So if I'm going to come to your show and I know I'm in and out of there in 2.5 hours, and I think I've created a culture where, if people invite me to their gym shows, I'm going in and I'm there for 6-8 hours. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I want to be home with my kid. And I always tell the guys, I'm like, hey guys, in the team meetings, I'm like, we're out here in 2.5 hours. I want to be home at 9 o'clock having a beer. So we have a team that's got the fighters in the back, ready to go in the ring. Fight's done. Get out of here. Next fight's coming in. So the crowd is seeing a fast show, and they're in and out of there in 3 hours, 4 hours.
So how many of these stadium packing events are you doing a year? One a year?
So the large stadium here, this will be a 1 year kind of thing, right? I believe that I'm running my school, and like I was talking about earlier, I got so many things to do with the school that throwing this show here takes is almost like a full-time job. And if you're going to do it right, you got to do it right. So when I threw this show, I had my two schools. So I had to take a step back to really focus on this, and I wasn't as present in my gym. And I feel when I'm not that present in my gym, there will be issues and things that happen. So I made the decision, this show here, I can make a big chunk of money, but running a proper gym, keeping the retention and delivering the high product that I need to, I can make as much money doing that, which is a lot less stress than throwing some of these shows. So if I do a big, large event, that'll probably be 1 a year. My other small events, I'm throwing 3 Muay Thai shows a year at 1,000 person arena, or 1,000 person venue. And I'm throwing 2 large jiu-jitsu tournaments that we're hitting about 700 to 1,000 competitors for jiu-jitsu tournaments.
How much are you making for some of these smaller ones? What are you bringing in?
Yeah, so for me, I'm usually pulling home about $20K for the smaller ones. So for me, it's a nice chunk of money. For the pro shows, the big one that you do once a year, you're looking at anywhere from like nothing. You could be in the negatives. We've seen a lot of people do it.
Sure.
You get up there to like 50 to 100K if you do it proper. My jiu-jitsu tournaments, I'm pulling in about 10 to 20K for my jiu-jitsu tournaments, but on average, walk home about 20K for one of the 1,000-seaters that we do.
So this is a huge chunk. Like, this is not insignificant.
It's not insignificant. So that's why when I do my year calendar, I'm like, all right, I got a jiu-jitsu tournament February, a sanctioned show in April. So I'm spreading them out where I can now start working on them because I have my systems together and I have my people together. So it's a lot easier, but it is significant. I look at it like that's a whole salary for somebody there, a good salary that I'm bringing into the side. And that basically covers all the fun stuff in life I want to do. And then my business covers my house and all my operations.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you have a full-time events person to help you coordinate all this? Or are you managing?
I don't have a full-time one, but when we get ready, because I have different partners. So my jiu-jitsu shows, I have different partners for that. For my Muay Thai shows, I have different partners for that. So I have key people that I can go to, but for the most part, it's getting to the point now that I've done it where I hit my checklist. I can get things done. If I spend 8 hours or 10 hours a week just on that, I can kind of start getting it done. And I have part-time teams. And you're talking about the culture of the team. Like, we've had people that have left our team that are like, hey, when's the next Durham Fight Series show? I want to be a part of it. And I'm like, perfect. That person was really good with the setup. I'm going to have them handle the setup. This person was good with that. I'm going to have them handle that. So a lot of people want to help out for free on them too.
So you were throwing out big numbers, 700 here, 1,000 here, 4,000 for that one. How much of it is you've just been doing this for a while now, you have a lot of reputation, or how much of it is just you're still pounding the pavement, clawing to get bodies into?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of it is reputation, and that we've done it for so long. People know what to expect. And I think they know they can expect a night where they're going to be in and out in 3-4 hours. They know they're going to be able to come have a beer. The fights are going to be good. The show's going to be organized. There's no hiccups. There's no big, large intermission. There's never been any fights, knock on wood, or anything like that. It's been a fun community event where the family can all come out. So I think a lot of it has been reputation. For the big show, we did spend a big chunk. We probably spent about 20K in radio ads and taking the marketing to the next level. But for the in-houses and the smaller events, we don't even have to market too much now because we know people are going to hear about it and want to come.
Yeah, we heard the same. We interviewed the largest weightlifting club in America, and they make a ton of money from competitions and events as well. And they said the same thing, where it's just most of the events in the space is just an absolute shit show. And their whole brand was like, ours is not a shit show. If we say it's 2 hours, it's going to be 2 hours. And they said just because of that, now each one gets bigger and bigger and bigger because of,
Yeah, and now everybody's raising their bars and trying to make it like that, right? So we gotta keep raising the bar now and making them better.
How competitive is this? Do you have 10 other ones around you that people can choose?
It is very, very competitive now. And the market is getting a little bit more saturated now that COVID's over and everybody's kind of back to normal. And also everybody is now, seeing what can be done through shows. Everybody wants that money. Everybody wants to make the show. So what we're seeing now is a saturation of the fighter pool. So when I'm trying to throw events, there's now in Ontario, there's an event every single weekend, where before it was like 1 or 2 a month, but now it is getting more saturated, getting more competitive. So I'm slowing it down a bit and being a little more strategic with the big events that I want to do and doing them right.
The big ones aside, the smaller jiu-jitsu ones, what are the costs associated with that? And then, how do you do ticket sales?
Most events are all the same. So for jiu-jitsu, you're going to get the registration fees for the athletes. So the athletes have to register. So they're registering to compete in the tournament at $100 a pop. So if you get, 1,000 people competing, they're all paying $100 to compete. Then you got your spectator fees at the door, parents coming in to watch, $10 to $20, whatever you want to charge. Your expenses are going to be renting the venue, renting the mats, and paying the sanctioning body. The same thing will happen for your Muay Thai shows. Renting the ring, renting the venue, paying the sanctioning body, and then just selling tickets.
And I'm assuming refs, right?
It comes with the sanctioning body. So
Oh,
the
that's okay.
sanctioning
Got
body,
it.
they're
They
going to
send them.
provide the refs and judges and all that kind of stuff.
Got it. Got it. Wow. Quite the operation. You've leveled up quite a bit here, you know, obviously from the bunkhouse to the mega school to the these epic shows. And it's allowed you to pursue other passion projects. We started talking about it a little bit earlier, but yeah, tell us a little bit more about Hearts for Martial Arts. And then if you can work in there, how do you balance the gym, this new nonprofit, and then obviously the event business?
Yeah, so we opened up the Hearts for Martial Arts Foundation, and I attached that. So I have my gym, I have my Durham Fight Series, and then I have my Hearts for Martial Arts Foundation, and they can all kind of intermingle. So what we'll do now is for some of our shows, I'll be like, hey guys, a portion of the proceeds from this show, or sometimes all proceeds from this show, after everything's all paid, go towards the Hearts for Martial Arts Foundation. And from the Hearts for Martial Arts Foundation, we're going to sponsor 10 kids. So we have a Facebook and Instagram page for the Hearts for Martial Arts Foundation where we're putting posts up of these kids that are getting sponsored, showing their stories. We've got kids now that have been doing it 2-3 years, showing how it's changed their lives. So we'll tie that into some of our shows, and that's worked really, really well. But how do I balance out life and everything? It's, you know what, I work really, really, really hard, but I also travel and party really, really hard. So I just got to balance it out. Like when my wife was on mat leave, I moved, I went to Europe for a month. We went on 3 different vacations. So as hard as I work, I know that hard work is going to allow me to enjoy the fruits of my labor, where we weren't able to do all that stuff before. So I'm trying to maximize that now. But I think now going forward that I have a son, that's really changed my vision on, you know, what's important and what we got to do. And I got to try to find a better balance in work and life.
Well, where do you want people to go if they want to learn more or follow along your journey?
So you can follow our Durham Fight Series Instagram page. You can follow our Hearts for Martial Arts not-for-profit charity page. And my gym is Cal Samrit Gym on Instagram. And they can follow us on all 3 of those pages. So Cal Samrit Gym on Instagram, Durham Fight Series on Instagram, and Hearts for Martial Arts Foundation, where we sponsor kids across Ontario.
And you, gym owner, if you want to hear more cool stories about how to run 4,000 person events, then go and make sure you give us a little like and also a subscribe if you haven't already. And also, if you need help growing your business so you can have a 10,000 square foot mega school like Brendan, then check out usekilo.com. We can give you the tools to help you get there. So with that, we will bid you adieu.
Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate your time and having me on, guys. Wish you guys all the best, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Okay, take care, guys. Thank you.